Hello, everyone. I'm going to call the Mashpee School Committee meeting for December 18th, 2024 to order. First item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Mashpee Public Schools recognize and honor the many generations of Wampanoag people who live and have sustained in this territory for more than 10,000 years. First item of business is ratify the agenda. Are there any changes?
Well,
I'm sorry, can I just make one highlight?
Yes.
We do need to vote to adopt the main office administrative assistant job description. That is a change, and that is a union contract. It has been reviewed, but it wasn't started. So
All right, well, let us make sure that we have that as a
should we make a
vote?
motion before we really make any other edits?
no, we can make all the edits together.
Okay.
Okay, any other edits? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Kelly. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan,
Oh, yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and I vote yes also, so it's unanimous. Thank you. Brian Whedon is not here tonight. He has a tribal council meeting, so he will not be in attendance. Public comment? Do we have any public comment? None at this time. All right. Next item of business, just flying right through this long agenda. MCAS performance data, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Hanscom.
And I think I just threw that over because Mr. Myers, you have now cursed us by saying what you said this early in the agenda. So, and I did promise my friends over there who came early that my part would be brief and their part is the most important part. So I'm really excited to celebrate some of these incredible scholars that we have with us today. But we're going to go through the results first, give you a little bit of information about what the teams at school have done with the information and next steps. And then we will celebrate our phenomenal learners. So the results are in your packet. They've been on the DESE website for many weeks now, but they report them in grades 3 to 8 and then in high school. So you can see where we fell. We have a lot of work to do around moving kids from partially meeting expectations up to meeting expectations. So a lot of our scores, the kids who fell in partially meeting, were really close to hitting the meeting expectations threshold, and so that's what our focus has been on in our work this year, looking at the data and making plans moving forward. So you can see ELA, math, and science there. Science is grades 5 and 8. Just a reminder, they do science, they provide a science MCAS in grades 5, 8, and then in high school at some point. Usually for us, it's either 9th or 10th grade biology. Our overall results for grade 10, you can see here as well. They're very good, very strong, and still areas that we're focusing on and looking to improve on. I want to highlight math in particular. Last year, we spent time during the year, all grades, looking at math programs and piloting and field testing different math programs. And we're pretty sure that the implementation of those programs that we started last year indicates why our math scores aren't as high as we want them to be. There's an implementation dip that often happens. It happens for analysis this year, we normally have, there's no teachers here, what do I call October, oh, and Mrs. Howe's here, what do I call the October day?
Day-to-day,
And what is it?
your favorite.
It's my favorite day. It's the Super Bowl for Dr. Hanscom. I love it. But this year I had to give up part of the day-to-day in order to bring in Kelvin Oliver, who did a half-day presentation on restorative practices. We felt like it was essential to have him come and speak to the entire staff because it's so important to how we manage the well-being of our kids. So that was in the morning, so that meant day-to-day, was pushed to an afternoon, but we have continued the work in our PLC time and collaborative team time at the building level. So when you see what we did, you'll be impressed because we got a lot done in a half day. But we looked at the various tools we have, MCAS Access, which is the assessment for English learners, STAR data, our DESA data, which is our social emotional universal screener, Lexia, the Peli, which is the preschool data point, attendance, we looked at MCAS questions, the profile on DESA. I want to just show you quickly what Open Architects looks like. I'm not going to get into crazy detail because there are names attached to it, but this is our platform, Open Architects, and this is just, I don't even know what this is, I pulled up, it's 10th grade English maybe, and you can change all of the components of what you're looking at to look at only boys or only girls or by racial group, by IEP status, by all sorts of components. And so we've had Open Architects for 2 years, but this is the first year we also have all of these dashboards, which include MCAS and Access, which we always had, but now we can look at attendance, enrollment monitoring, student behavior, which is based on log entries in PowerSchool, daily student trends, Lexia, Acadians, which is the preschool Peli, STAR, grades, DESA, and then look by student. This has been a game changer for us because all of the data that we've been collecting for many years, teachers can now go in and see it all together in one spot. It's sort of amazing, pretty magical, and allows us to do the implementation of interventions much, much quicker. At some point, I would imagine the MTSS teams are going to talk to you, not tonight, about what we're doing in MTSS this year. This tool has been absolutely essential in being able to provide targeted interventions to kids on their skill deficits. So we find out that Hope struggles with her vowel sounds from looking at this data. We don't have to go to 6 different places to find that out. It's right there. And then we can put in the research-based interventions to target that skill deficit. Again, that's another meeting that we'll talk about that at, but I wanted to show you that it's a program that really has made a difference for us. So like last year, we used the data-driven dialogue protocol where we looked at facts, wonderings, implications, and next steps. So the next couple of slides are just an example of what the teams found in their analysis. So grade 4, English language arts, they saw as a strength that the student growth percentile, which I'm going to talk about in a second, increased and was in the typical range, so that's good. And so they had some wonderings about that, some implications and next steps using the DESE acceleration guidelines to increase access. But then concerns, 21 students earned 0% for at least one of their writing prompts. That's a big concern. And when we looked, we saw that their writing wasn't the problem. We realized that students didn't know what kind of question they were answering. We've taught kids ACEs. Does anyone in the audience know what an ACEs paragraph is? Oh, I love seeing the hands. Thank you, that brought me joy. But does anyone know, do you always use an ACEs when you write an essay? No, sometimes they want to know how you feel about something, or they want you to write a fiction story. And what we've discovered is that kids don't always know what the question is asking. So they wrote beautiful ACEs essays, but they didn't answer the questions, they got no points. So what we're doing in order to address that is we have a series of MCAS prompts that the kids are doing once a week, where they're looking at an MCAS prompt, they're telling us what the question is asking, and they're writing just an opening sentence to that paragraph to answer the question. So we can every week figure out, are they understanding when it's a narrative, when it's an expository, when it's what. So that's just one example. And that's not just 4th grade that we know is struggling with that, that's actually across the elementary dance. Again, just an example. Grade 5 math, we looked at where we did well, and then why we thought we did well. So last year, we noticed that the strength that I pointed out here was actually a weakness. We provided intervention, and now it became a strength on our MCAS score, so that's great. Concerns around algebraic expressions, and so we've looked historically over time, so now we're shifting the units of study so that we're teaching things before, at different points in the year so that kids get the information before MCAS. Again, none of this is, we're not here to talk about that specific point, but I wanted you to get a sense of what the teachers and educators have been looking at and thinking about, and then doing as a result. And then finally, I just gave you an example of grade 8 science. Their meeting and exceeding increased and outpaced the state, so that's great. However, students in the high needs category, which is a category that includes socioeconomic status, IEP status, English language status, and that might be it. All together, they are not performing as well as those not in the high needs subcategory. So what can we do for the most sort of vulnerable population to bring their scores where other students are? So again, just an example of what the teachers have been doing. The next thing I'm going to show you are what student growth percentiles are. So this is not new, and this little blurb up there is actually from DESE, has a phenomenal paper on this that if anyone is interested in, I can share with you because it gets into a lot more detail. And it took me everything I had not to put it all up there and talk about student growth percentiles and the data analysis that goes into creating them, but I didn't think any of you were as interested in it as I am. However, student growth percentiles measure a student's achievement, their change in a student's achievement. And the way that the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education does it is it takes, Eve took MCAS in 3rd grade. Wherever she scored in ELA, let's say MCAS in 3rd grade, she is placed in a cohort with other students in Massachusetts, and they track their progress over time. In 4th grade, however Eve did, her progress is compared to that original subgroup from 3rd grade, and that determines her growth. And that happens every year as they go on. So you can see the growth levels, and we want to see anywhere from 40 to 60 is typical growth. 40 to 60, and it's percentile. So that's that white paper that I was telling you about. If you want, come in and sit with me, and we will look at it together, and it will be so much fun. I will bring snacks. But just look at it like a bell curve, and 40 to 60 is where we want to see kids fall, at least there. And if they don't, that's okay. We have kids who have scored exceeding expectations on MCAS with low growth. That's okay. It's just one data point. But it's really what it tells us is what kids are learning, and not what kids are learning, how much kids are learning, and how quickly they're progressing, which is what we want to see. And the reason I'm talking about it today, you can see very high is 81 to 99th percentile. We are celebrating today students whose growth percentile on either ELA or math fell in the 90th percentile or higher. So it's not just very high, it's the tip top of the very high. So it's super hard to do and very, very impressive. So I'm going to just, I have the list of the names of the kids who fell into it. I quashed at Mashpee Middle High School for ELA and math. The principals are going to actually announce those names, but I have in the little yellow box, at or above 90th percentile, because it's seriously amazing what these kids have done. So let me go back to here so we can see what it looks like. And I'm going to invite Mr. Switzer to come up and maybe take that microphone. And he's going to give out, now I have to say, Mr. Switzer was very generous in giving me this time this month, because I think it was his turn to do a thing with his students. And so when we were giving out these, he made sure and said, I want to give them out to this year's 7th graders, because they were mine last year.
Not mine, but
And
they were
Miss
here.
Brady graciously agreed. So
I think I asked. I asked if she'd be okay with
we
that.
have different recollections of that experience. But either way, he loves his students, and we love him.
Yeah, first of all, I had my casual attire on because it was Spirit Week today, I at least took the basketball jersey off and replaced it with the Mashpee pullover. How do we want to do this? Should they come up to us?
Usually, yeah, because then,
Yeah.
well, and you'll have to do a picture at the end, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore might not be here anymore, but pictures are.
All right. So I'll call you up, come up, get your certificate, and maybe just stand up here. We'll face your parents, and then we'll take a picture. Does that sound all right?
Love it.
All right. It's going to be hard to do this. So
Do you want me to?
yeah, it would be fantastic. Actually, yeah, all right.
What?
Yeah. All right, Brendan Howe. Yeah, buddy. Stand right here. Christopher Rousseau. I saw you, bud.
Promise not to bite today.
Estrella Bispo. I don't think I saw her. And her sister Yasmin Bispo. I saw this guy, Bobby Maffey. Good job, buddy. Patrick LaMontagne. Jack Franzago. Nice job, buddy. Yasmin Perico. I don't know if I saw. Matea Kilty.
Some kids, you get a certificate for ELA and or math, so you might get two. I'm just putting that out there.
There's only one with
Okay,
two.
I just didn't want people to be forgot.
Kayla Ebbs. Karina Rousseau. John Townsend. Joshua Swanson. Chester Gannier. Jocelyn Cruz. Dominic Campbell. Meekanese Thomas. Owen Davis. Chase Zeal. Nathaniel Williams. Ryan Sadek. I don't know if he was here last year. That's what I thought.
I have a bunch of kids who are not, you're going to get it from Mr.
Wait.
Switzer.
Oh, you are? Okay, here you go.
Because you just called the name. These are all the next grade up.
This one's not.
Oh, not?
This one's
Okay.
here, and I want to give this one.
All right.
I'm very proud of this one. Magnolia Barton.
These are all.
No, that's not mine. Thanks to them.
Sorry. Technical difficulties. Grab.
No, it's not mine.
Okay.
This is my crib.
So this is, if you are up here, except for the, sorry, you were at Quashnet last year. So that means you were either third, fourth, fifth, or sixth last year. And so
I have a round of applause.
the
You guys want to get it?
I was gonna say, if they move back, we could probably,
Oh.
the parents have room.
You want
Like,
to go behind?
no, we can just stand up,
Oh,
so
you
if they
stand
just
up.
stand,
Brilliant,
they leave
brilliant.
that.
Come back here.
I think we're taller than most of the kids.
I don't know. You're talking three. I think this problem needs to go to the front.
Kelly, get on a chair.
Here we go. There it is. All right, are we ready? 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
Nice job, everybody.
Yeah, did the parents want to get a picture?
If any of your parents want to take a picture, I'm sure they'll stay. Feel free.
They'll get their picture? Nope, no, we're good.
Test one.
Oh, get back in there. The paper can go. Thank you.
Chris,
Congratulations, bud.
Congratulations,
Good job,
guys.
guys.
Good job.
So,
We have,
I know you did. You were very good there, but I can hear it now. Okay. And for those kids who couldn't come, that is completely understandable, and I made some glitches with the emails, so I apologize, but I'm really grateful that you could come, those of you who are here. So this is Bonnie Brady, Jackson Middle High School principal, grades 7 through 12, and she's going to provide them for the middle high school students.
Okay, I did have them alphabetized, and Ryan chose to put his back in, and we'll announce him again. So I'm going to announce him again. And we do have a full crowd, so we'll try to fit in here, but we're announcing everybody. So we have Lily Ross, Derek Holtz, Gray Auger, Alana McDonald, Bison Turner Jackson, Gianna Kokoli, Gray Nash, okay, Brendan Andrade, Sophia Albert, Peyton Cabral, you're welcome, Tyler Cardero, Jordan Cardoza, Kai Christo, Alexandra DeHelian, D'Angelo DeSena, Andrew Fancher, Lila Ferrer, Olivia Fonts, Joseph Furtado, Kaylin Gomez, Nathaniel Harriman, Taylor Jones, Grady Kernan, Georgia Lyons. Oh, so 2, Georgia Lyons got both ELA and math. Jason Merkman, Kamar Mustafa, Ava Parr, Leonard Peters. We have 2 again for both ELA and math. Grace Pock De Silva. 2 again for ELA and math. Nyla Romiza. Grace Rosignol. Ryan Sadek. Twice. That's what I would have went with too. Bella Schmalls. James Serafini. Tyler Schilling. Hayden Schwonsky. Evelyn Sylvia. 2 for Rhiannon Tokla. Kaylee Turner, and Michael Valois. We have a lot of kids to celebrate at MMHS. Thank you, sweetie.
This is grades 7 through 12, 7 through 10, really, because you don't take MCAS after that. So, all right, and you want to scooch back so we can get Yes.
Kelly, come right here, Kelly. They left a spot.
You
Right
do
here.
need to
Right there. There you go.
All right. Oh, Ms. Robson. There you go. I can get you. 1, 2, 3. Mr. Danny.
Mr.
Danny.
Sorry.
Scooch.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and she did come. Where is she? All right. Can you take pictures, parents? Lillian? No, she definitely did. I remember, because I was so proud. No, Ms. Vinitsky's checking. All right, congratulations. Good job, guys. So we have one other student whose certificate was not here, but was on the spreadsheet. Lillian Esquel.
Lillian Esquel, and I feel like we should have had her up. Did she come up? Oh, but we should have.
I know.
All the pictures.
I don't know what happened, so I apologize for the glitch. And
No, but I
you
want
guys
you
can
in the
take another
picture.
picture with you in it? You sure? Okay. All right. We're just waiting for you. All right, thank you, everyone. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much. And congratulations again to all the recipients. Next item of business is approval of the minutes for November 13th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Now second.
Motion by Kathy, second by Dan. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan,
I vote yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and I vote yes also. Do we have a representative from the Wampanoag tribe today? All right, well, we'll come back if we need to. I'm not sure if I want to introduce the next person or not, because after seeing them in the play and the way she handled all of the people who came to her table, I'm a little scared, but regardless, I'll give it a shot. Eve Mann.
I mean, it kept things interesting.
There was no
That
feet
is for
licking,
sure.
right?
I was bored of us and I didn't even see it, and I have a photo of it too.
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise to those of us who went both nights. Not gonna lie.
I was surprised to no one who
I'm sure it was.
No, yeah, so the show went really well. We also had Gillette, which was a lot of fun. The boys played really, really hard. I was there. It was cold. So I was playing a little bit, but it was a really good experience overall. And I think there was a really good bonding experience for Mashpee. I have received information. We are going to start electing new individuals to the student advisory committee. We have an information meeting. I'm almost 95% positive on Wednesday, January 8th, and then the following week we will be doing elections. I have to I'm emailing back and forth with Ms. Lynn, the advisor, so we're just trying to figure everything and all the details out. So yes, it is open to kids not in 12th grade. I don't know if we're also doing middle schoolers or not. I have to confirm on that. So yes, everyone we will have 3 new members for the January 29th meeting. Very exciting. Yeah, we've had very fun Spirit Weeks this week. Miss Brady got mad at me the first day because I didn't know there was a prize to them. I just didn't do that part. But yeah, we've had some very fun Spirit Days. The teachers really enjoyed Dress Like a Student Day, and I mean really enjoyed, like they were in the whole persona thing too.
I heard there was lots of.
Miss Auger looked so much like her daughter.
But her daughter looked
just
so much like her.
It made me
I was
laugh
like,
so hard.
Oh
Oh my god.
Right.
Oh my God, it
Oh,
was
jeez.
amazing.
That is hilarious.
I heard there was lots of Dunkin' Donuts too involved, like
Oh.
the sweatpants with the dunks in hands
yes.
was.
My teacher
Yeah.
was sitting there doing English, going, "Call my mom, I dare you." Phone in hand, she's like, "I'm doing a game." I know the quadrant teachers were also having a lot of fun with that. I don't know, is KCC also doing a spirit week?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
White is winter white.
Oh, okay.
Not dressed like a teacher today?
Yeah, today was pajama day, so I think 2 days of successful putting teachers in comfy clothes. We were very happy about that. But yeah, it's been really, I think we're all ready for break. It's been a long couple weeks. We've had a lot going on in the schools. I know the Christmas parade which just happened. I was not there, but I heard it was cold. That's all I heard about it. So yeah, we have auditions for the Beetlejuice Junior musical. It was yesterday and tomorrow. Winter sports have started up. Games and meets for everything have started in the past 2 weeks. So I was only able to go to one basketball game. Didn't really know what was going on, but I was there. So it works. Yeah. So, do you have any questions?
I saw the classroom that was set up, so the new members will be, I guess, invited to that classroom. I got that invitation today, so I was like, excellent. Looking forward to that, and yeah, I don't have any other questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations again on the play.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the superintendent.
Yeah, so this is a very busy time of year and obviously very spirited this week as well. Every single school is involved in a spirit week. And I can attest to Mr. Markarian wearing his pajamas today. As I saw him this morning, was able to attend the Super Bowl, although it did not end the way we all wanted it to. Very proud of the effort put forth on the field, the quality of how well those young men played and represented Mashpee. The entire crowd represented Mashpee extremely well. Check, please. Enjoyed that. And you might have seen the School Status Connect come out, but the podcast for this month did come out, and it is interviewing our football captains and our very chatty cast of Check, please. And giggling. Yes. So please tune into that. That is out there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. It's probably be posted on the website in the next couple days, but the School Status Connect. We are in the process of looking at what to do with competency determination after the question 2 ballot. The district-based leadership team met on Monday, discussed that there. Today was a question and answer session with Russell Johnson from DESE. On Friday, the Cape Cod superintendents are also going to be sitting and talking about it. Basically, we need to figure out and develop a policy on how we are going to determine competency determination. We're not particularly in a difficult place because we already have adopted Mass Core as our graduation requirement, but the competency determination is different than the graduation requirement. And then, of course, every time you talk to, especially the DESE about this, is a new wrinkle. And today's wrinkle was you can't use the MCAS to do competency.
Oh, they just said that you could.
Yes. So anyway, so the point is that it is still wiggling and wobbling. We're gonna follow that one up, but we're supposed to. And again, the competency determination is actually a 10th grade, 9th and 10th grade determination, and not a 12th grade graduation.
But if they're still taking it in 10th grade and it's up to the local districts to determine,
yes, well,
but we can't use, if we choose to.
Right, we can use the MCAS, but not.
Okay, yeah, I don't. Okay. I mean, I've been following it as well. Yeah.
See if other superintendents heard it the same way I did, because that's really a little bit. But we probably will need to have a policy to get through this May, and then a long-term policy going forward. And I'll be honest, when it comes to things like these that are highly technical, I'm not a fan of ballot questions. Making these determinations, a lot that goes into it, and having a little more lead time than the 5th of January to implement a brand new law with something as technical as this would have probably been a good thought, but I wasn't there in the room. So The What's Up Wednesday came out today, and I want to once again compliment Mrs. Duninsky for her work on that. Look forward to it every Wednesday. I even gave her a big shout out for her brand new School is Closed flyer at the very top. But just a reminder out there that the schools will be closed the 23rd and reopen on January 2nd, which is Thursday. And you know, the nice thing when you get, there is so much going on in Mashpee around holiday activities, and there's a lot of activities in this particular What's Up Wednesday about activities for kids during the break. Everything from the boys' club to the girls' club. There's a local, I can't remember which local museum or youth piece, but there's several different things. If you're looking for something for your kids to do in the middle of vacation, when your sanity starts to go south, it is in the What's Happening Wednesday. And I also survived my first Christmas parade this past year, this past Saturday. That was a lot of fun. It was a little cold, but we did manage to get through it, and I am absolutely impressed with Mansfield PD and how they managed to get some of those trucks to make that turn.
Oh, Mashpee.
Yeah, what did I say?
Mansfield.
So sorry.
I was like, were they there?
Well, sometimes other towns
No,
go.
there were other towns. And then I'll kind of get back into the agenda here. The enrollment, we're still at 1403. That number has remained steady. That's actually kind of a new thing for me, coming from a district where the number moved every month, but Mashpee is much more consistent. Personnel updates, you can see that we have finally filled that .6 school psychologist position from the retirement of their sped director and the elevating of Christine Brown. So that's good news. To have someone in district is good, but also that's a budget savings as well, not having to hire out. We are looking at filling some of these positions will probably be filled before we break. But currently we're looking for a paraprofessional and a substantially separate classroom teacher, barring approval. Those are posted. A late bus driver, that's a constant one for the middle high school. If you would just like to drive that particular route in afternoons, that would be a huge help. Paraprofessional at the middle high school, and I believe we have a science teacher ready to start, but that is technically still open. We did have a science teacher resign because of personal reasons, and we are very lucky that we were able to replace that. Kudos to Principal Brady for her work on that. The athletic report, the winter. The winter season has begun. On page 5, you will see the coaches and the numbers of participants, what grades they are in, and the upcoming games. Those can also be found on the website as well, but we are off and running, so to speak. Okay. And then the We Are Mashpee report, you see that on page 7, 8, and 9. Again, those focus on community engagement, volunteer engagement, and also trying to get the word out on social media. On the first page, page 7, you can see kind of a mock-up of a possible or suggested look for the Mashpee Public Schools outreach van there. That is still in process. We are also looking at, and again, engaging volunteers. We have volunteers in all of our classrooms, and Ms. Suelo has done a great job with that. You can see on page 8 the volunteer hours that are going on there. And, you know, as it gets cold, we see a little bit of a dip going on, but I'm sure that those are pretty good representations for November. And the sales are also on page 8. So November, $3,643 worth. And then the social media data, you can see the posts and the reaches for Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Sorry, quick question.
Yeah.
Sales, that's just for the month of November, or is that year to, like, through November?
I think that's just for the month of November.
Okay, just curious.
There were several groups that were purchasing things through the stores and holidays.
That's great.
As well. Okay. Also in your packets on 11 through page 24, you have the budget narrative. We did present to the town last Wednesday on the 11th. The budget narrative will go into the superintendent's budget, will be published in the Mashpee Times on Friday the 27th. We are currently requesting $26,394,832, and that represents a 4.8% increase, but with an offset for school choice of $701,071, and also possibly moving $130,485 in capital requests out of the budget. That would drop to $26,264,347, or a 4.5% increase. The other thing I'd like to kind of quickly visit is the work of our DEI data analysts. At your place, you will see some graphs there, some of the work that Mary Ware has done. You need to know that the data presentations that you have seen here, the last two meetings, she has been working in the background to create and compile the data for those. She took all the data work that was done during Dr. Hanscom's Super Bowl and has done a deep dive in all of that and shared it back with the MTSS teams and the district and the building leadership. She's currently, if you look at the white piece of paper there with the graphs on the side, what I've done is I've taken all of the individual names out of there and their local and state identification numbers, but done an analysis of where the first one is our access data and where people are going in on there and what kind of groups they're falling into. And then the other one she's doing has done a correlation data between access and MCAS scores. And you can see that we have several places where we've got kind of a moderate correlation there. What will happen after vacation is she is going to sit down with each building principal and go through some of the data that she has compiled over the last couple months. And keep in mind that she is a 24 employee. She's also going to be sharing with them some analysis on extracurricular enrollment and participation based on demographics that will also be shared at these meetings. From there, that will also come back to the district-based leadership team on what next steps. All of this is kind of setting a baseline, and all of it is going to be important data as we sit down in the late winter, early spring, and start talking about strategic planning. So, if you have any questions on that.
So I have a smattering of questions from your presentation, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know I ask this all the time, and I'm fixated because I'm a transportation nerd, but what's the timeline, again, for the finishing of the bus for outreach?
We don't have a definite timeline. We're working with different vendors and trying to see what the price is going to be and what we can work with the tech with versus going to a local vendor. So we're in the process of that. As you can see, there's also 2 seniors working with Lucas Oil on the bus.
Yep.
As a part of their senior project, so that will wrap up in May. So it's not a great timeline for you, but they are in process. It has come back. It's on site currently as they're going through this mock-up and trying to figure out what the best option is to get it painted around.
Okay. And thinking of our current engagement points, I know that having a fixed site for gear has not been super cost efficient, but what about, do we have any opportunities for pop-ups for general community outside of the school, or for like what's our online presence for individuals who may want to make purchases if possible online?
There is an online platform. I believe it was a Google form that was set up by Consuelo, but she'll be able to give you more information on that, so we can have her kind of write up something along those lines to answer those questions. I know Consuelo is active about different pop-ups throughout the community. She tries to make her presence known at different events.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a listing. I don't know if you guys have a listing.
I did does have set office hours at the store in the high school.
Yep.
And if someone calls up and makes an appointment, she would make a point of meeting them, if they can't make it during those hours. And she has been at several different activities. I remember seeing her, wasn't she at the cookout? Yeah.
Yeah.
Along with the events that are coming up, kind of the pop-up locations that hashtag We Are Mashpee are gonna be at, either as like a store or if she's doing something with a volunteer for a piece of it.
Okay,
Do you
awesome.
know if she was at the farmer's market?
I know that she's been wanting to do that and kind of leveraging off of our garden that's here. I don't know if she's done that to date. It would be asked her.
Okay. Because I just think about, for individuals who may not typically come to school events or, sometimes being able to have access at non-traditional school activities can be really helpful for that. Other question I had, and this may be a Consuelo question, it would be a Consuelo question, but the hours for volunteers, it seems like there's a significantly higher presence of volunteer hours at Quashnet opposed to the other schools. Do we have any understanding of why we seem to get more volunteers at Quash than elsewhere?
Well, follow-up, I guess, or question I have off of that is, does this include PTO volunteer hours?
Yes.
Because that would explain why Quashnet, I think, is high. I could be wrong, but if it's including PTO, I would imagine that impacts.
It feels like maybe Consuelo should be on an agenda soon.
It'd be nice, I think.
That would probably be good. Because one of the things I think, particularly at the high school, there's more volunteer-associated activities, such as with the mock interviews, et cetera, that take place after the new year.
Yep.
That would tend to swell their numbers. Having participated, I know Kathy's participated in that in the past. So I would expect that they would catch up after the new year. But we can ask if she can
Yeah,
come
we
to
can
the
ask for
January
her to come, and we'll get a whole bunch of questions for her to answer so that it's smooth and efficient. But if you look, the high school, the volunteers come in usually to do a project or an activity. One particular, at Quashnet, there are volunteers who go into certain classrooms like every week to help kids. So it's much more consistent and much more intertwined with the regular day. And at the Coombs, they come in and read, but that's kind of during.
And in the classroom as well.
Yeah.
But we have two volunteers, which is
Yeah.
quite important.
Yeah. But I think that there's like several volunteers in each classroom for whatever. They're sitting in groups and doing math and things like that.
It makes sense. I was just thinking of like opportunity. You guys spoke to it, but is one school providing more opportunities than others? It just seems like it's different layers of opportunity
Yeah.
at this point.
And if you look, and November between, Veterans Day and other, professional development days, and the Thanksgiving break is a little shorter of a month. October is a longer month. October, for instance, has the mock interviews, which is why you see some of those differences by month. But
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah,
then
we can have Consuelo come and.
Yeah, because
I wrote down several questions and get the rest.
Because I do have a question in regard to the YouTube followers and why we've had such struggle increasing that when we have, looks like 3,600 people on Facebook and Instagram. We've got almost 1,000, and we were trying to get to 1,000 on Google, and we've been trying for a long time. And we add maybe one or two every month, so.
There's no Twitter data on there either. Or X.
Or
Not
X.
on
We're on Facebook and Instagram.
right, and then my final one is this darn late bus, huh? Like I
know.
feel at this point, I know that we've made multiple attempts to try to fill this. Is there ever, and I may have asked this previously, so bear with me here, but private contractors like other bus companies, CCRTA, like is there anything outside of the box that we can support with that isn't like a traditional collaborative bus or something like that? Because at this point, it seems like it's going to continue to be a vacancy for a very long time.
Yeah,
Okay.
like, that's a great idea. Like, they could either, Cape Cod RTA could either make the high school a stop and then add some more stops in Mashpee. I know that, the late bus is definitely a need for a
Yeah.
lot of families in the middle high school, and it prevents a lot of kids from doing things, getting extra help after school, for example. It bothers me we don't have a late bus for the high school on so many levels.
Because I just to piggyback off that, I think of like the DART routes that they have. They're more on the on-demand routes. They have a little bit of a their schedule doesn't go as late, but I think it's because of demand. But I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to leverage those drivers, be able to provide some opportunity, and make it a fixed option for that. Again, just thinking of ways to work around that. Thank you.
Great idea. Thank you. All right.
And the only other thing I wanted to point out is the page 25, the upcoming events.
Pasta dinner tomorrow night.
Okay, any questions for the superintendent? Hearing none, we'll move on to the director of finance.
In your packet are the FY25 reports. They're consistent month over month. I didn't receive any questions before the meeting. Are there any questions now? And the last piece of my report is an HVAC update. The DPW has been working with the town consultant engineer to work at the rooms to get the work completed, and also they're proposing to do the commissioning once they have determined solutions for a few issues that have come up. Catherine and Brad are working with them. And then the middle high school HVAC project, the design development plans were received today, they're expected by the end of the day on Monday. We did meet with the design team today with their preliminary information. There were a few issues that we saw in the initial review of it. They're going back and they are going to update the plans accordingly. We will have an estimate of cost in January, so we'll have an update then. There's also going to be an update on what the phasing will look like of this project. And we know that we have things that go on in the summer, such as the superintendent's conference, so how do we work with the groups during the summer, and also if we're going to be doing work during the school year, and what does that look for the middle high school. So those are ongoing conversations. Currently, they are meeting the deadlines. We're working towards them, and
Thank you.
So one thing I just wanted to add, and I will ask the other two members who were there, Ms. Slopes and Mr. Thompson, at the meeting with the town manager, in case I misquote him. But one of the questions that I asked was in regard to CIP and the project in regard to the ventilation or the air conditioning project, and what the town manager's view was in regard to what the voters approved, and whether they approved a project, given that it was going to cost X millions of dollars, with the expectation that the project would be completed, or did the voters approve a certain number of dollars and we get as far as we get? Which gets you to two different conclusions. He reiterated that he believed that the taxpayers approved a project in its completion. And so if we have to go back and request additional funding, that would be a subsequent CIP request that would go to the voters.
currently for FY26, there is a full placeholder for HVAC upgrades for the Mashpee High School and Quashnet, if it is needed.
Now, he did caveat it, which kind of irked me a little bit in regard to what those upgrades would entail. So I think in some aspects, he lost sight of the fact that it was 90 degrees in the classroom when he visited it in the spring, and that has not changed, and just improving airflow
Yeah.
is not going to significantly change the temperature in the classroom.
So I think back to a previous conversation that we had as a group, wanting to ensure that we did not default to just an airflow quality piece of things. Obviously, I think we need to be very mindful of that and attentive to not seeing any slippage with regard to making sure that our schools have adequate temperatured air as well.
I agree. Hot air is hot air.
Yes, it is.
It does not matter. And, as you know, there's enough here, so.
Is the combined efforts, not
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 just
just moving air.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm trying to attend as a active observer for the CIP meetings. Yeah.
I think all we need to do is sit them in one of those classrooms on the second floor at MHS, the end of May, beginning of June, and let them sit there for 8 hours, and, that might.
Kelly, how do you think we got it through?
Yeah,
Mrs. DeBoer brought the town, and he'll say it.
he's already done it.
She brought him on a tour of the Casey Coon, all the schools, the Casey Coon second floor in August.
Yeah.
And we
And
never had another conversation about it.
he finally understood,
But he
but
brings that up all the time.
Yes.
It's like,
He has to, unfortunately, it's the health and safety of our kids, like.
it's not just the kids, it's the faculty
Well,
and
that too,
staff
yeah.
who are
Yeah.
trying to teach the kids too.
It's everyone
Yeah.
in the buildings, and we can't lose sight of that. And, it will continue to take a concerted effort by everybody to push this forward and to make
So,
sure that we get a satisfactory result. Because this isn't a problem that happened yesterday.
Yep.
This has been an ongoing issue for at least 20 years that I'm aware of. And in reality, it was probably a design issue back when particularly at the high school when it was built. So I
Make
just
sure
wanted
your
to update you.
constituents go to town meeting is what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, definitely make sure they go to town meeting, but let's maybe
Yeah.
even more so to keep on top of what's happening at CIP, because only what goes to town meeting has to go
Pass
through
CIP, yes.
has to get through CIP. And if nothing shows up on the warrant, then, nothing is going to get approved. All right? So just to keep everyone mindful in regard to that. All right, negotiation subcommittee, we had our very first meeting with Unit C the other day. We shared some ideas, and look forward to continuing to meet with them. We have another meeting scheduled for early January. And knock on wood, I'm hopeful that we will be able to get this resolved sooner versus later. Next item on there is the Finance Working Group. Kelly, do you want to say anything? Or?
No, our main concern right now is going over the budget and how we can, get the town manager to understand that it is what it is, and in order to do what we need to do for our school district, that certain requirements, need to be met. And I think that Ashley is doing a good job trying to figure out where funding and grants can come from, in the absence that he, once again, will cut the budget that we put in front of him. So it's a work in progress, and we're just gonna have to see where it stands.
I do want to note that, from what was originally submitted in Munis back in October, that has been adjusted for the information we know of in regard to the preschool students that we had talked about. Is that correct or not?
We had the discussions, it has not been changed in here, so your budget still it
But what you presented tonight
does not include that.
does not include that. Okay.
So that's the additional $150,000.
I thought that did. Okay.
So there's part of it that there is a little bit extra circuit breaker money that, based on what I projected and what actually came out, we have a little bit of extra money there, and I'm hoping to look at the grant funding projections for next year before we make that change in the general fund budget.
Okay. All right. So we should know that for, because what's in here is what will be published.
Exactly. What you have at your packet will be published on the 27th of December for the public hearing. That will be before you vote on January 22nd. I believe we'll have a better view.
Right, we should know from our perspective, and we should also have received feedback from the town manager by then. Okay. Thank you for that update. Next on the agenda, you have the school calendar, page 29.
Yeah, this is the second look at the school calendar. It has been reviewed and approved by the union. So folks do not have any questions. I think we're probably ready to give the thumbs up.
I just never like starting school before Labor Day. I don't understand why that ever came into being, but
Do you want to give up a vacation in February?
It's not giving up the vacation, it's ending
Yeah,
and like later in June.
Or going to the end of June?
Brockton Public Schools had to go to school, this was maybe 10 years ago, during April vacation because there were so many snow days. It was that winter that we
Yeah.
had.
well, that happened to me when I was in high school.
24, oh, Miss Brady, no, she was there.
It's the same thing. I mean, you build snow days into a calendar for a reason.
But it
I-
exceeded those snow days.
Right, well, I come from a district in Rhode Island where we got feet of snow, not inches. And we went to school one year to the June 30th, to the absolute deadline, because we had so many snow days. So, I mean, I understand why we start in August. I just don't like it.
Yeah, it gives us more instructional days before standardized testing, AP testing, all those things. We have more instruction before.
So there's instruction going on those first 2 days of school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
And what I will say, I think,
There's definitely more instruction going on in those first few days than there are those on the 28th and 29th.
That's where they're building their communities right there. And so I guess if you know that they're not having instruction during those days, I'd want to hear about that so that we can have a conversation, Kelly, because that is not an acceptable implication for me, knowing that every single second that we have these kids is absolutely essential. So sorry, I get a little crazy because that's really important to me that every minute we have kids in the building, we are learning. And we work really hard to make that happen.
and I will just say, as a parent of 2 younger children, right, I wasn't super fond of it, in the beginning stages, but I also think it provides an opportunity for kids to acclimate and then to have that kind of long extended weekend to reset and to re-prep for the school year. So for us as a family, speaking school committee aside here for a moment, it actually has seemed very beneficial to allow, the kids to kind of pop in, get to know their teachers, be able to figure out what their needs may be going into the long weekend, and then to be able to come back strong, for a full week, which has been lovely. So, and they learned in the first 2 days, which was lovely as well.
Can we hear from our student?
The first day of school, my KB calculus teacher said to me, "This is the last day that we will not be doing math until you test." So they do teach us, and a lot of the first day is a lot of get to know each other, and then the second day, especially in the high school, they're like, okay, let's start just looking at a glimpse, even if they're not really jumping right into it. We're doing kind of like an overview of what we're going to be doing throughout that course. And just as a student, having those 2 days and the 4 days and then the 5 days, it's a lot better than doing the 4 days and then 5 days, just because you get those 2 days to say, okay, wrap your head around being in a new school, being back to school, waking up early, the alarm going off. So you kind of get those 2 days just to acclimate, and then you do have the long weekend to kind of finish up any family things, last kind of summer thing, and then 4 days of school for the first week of school, that's hard, especially on the younger kids and the older kids too. But I feel like just those 2 days are super beneficial because it's, okay, welcome to school. Now go home. Okay, now welcome back. Okay, now you can go home again. So it's not, it doesn't feel, and it makes you feel like you're getting out earlier, even though it's 2 days. We're out super early right now because we pushed those 3 days.
Thank you, Eve.
And we're also seeing June being much hotter,
Right.
hotter in June than it is in August.
And the other thing from my perspective, we have fall sports already starting in the middle of August. So, kids are starting to get back in the swing of it anyway.
Yep.
So, I just think it's a natural evolution.
The thing that always kills me, Kelly, if it's any consolation, is that Friday for St. Patrick's Day. No
Oh,
offense, all of you, but that one always, that changed. I know what it replaced, but it always makes me laugh a little bit.
I'm listening to you, Danny, and you, Eve, and unfortunately, my child has a totally different perspective than either one of you have about, returning to school in August, because to him, that's still summer. And I get it. Like I said, it's just, you're in school for 2 days and then you're out of school for 4 days. Like, sometimes it's like, what is the point? But to both of yours, I mean, I can see Eve's point totally. You look at it differently than the 3rd and 4th graders do, and the 5th graders. So unfortunately, the alarms start going off. Mine never wakes up to alarm. I still gotta, shake them awake, but, and get back to class. Sports do start in August. I will definitely attest to that. Like I said, I don't like it. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It's just personally, it's summer still to me. So that's all. It's just my opinion.
Thank you,
All
Kelly.
right, any further discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the FY 25-26 calendar?
I'm happy to make that motion to approve the calendar.
I will second.
Motion by Dan, second by Kathy. Hearing no further discussion, Dan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and I vote yes. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Superintendent timeline. So,
So,
you want to give us an update?
sure. As of December 13th, we have 21 applicants that the committee is currently reviewing with a rubric kind of based off of our job listing and the survey, like what we identified as kind of the, like I call it the Mary Poppins wish list. So a rubric was developed to kind of make that first pass through to identify preliminary candidates or candidates for the preliminary interview stage, which will be held January 6th, 9th, and 13th, tentatively. We are hoping to narrow that field down to 6 to 8 candidates for that preliminary interview period. Definitely have a range of applicants, which I think is excellent. Some very qualified, quality applicants, which is very nice to see as well, with a range of, just a range of very interesting backgrounds and such from what I've read. We have a meeting on Friday to hopefully, like I said, narrow that list of 21 to 6 to 8. Then we will move forward with the preliminary interviews, which every member of the committee was asked to provide 2 or 3 questions based on identified categories that they felt was their expertise in a sense. So those are being compiled by MASC. And will be presented on Friday as well for us to kind of review and see if any wordsmithing needs to happen. But we are moving forward in that sense as well. So finalist interviews, we are hoping that after the interviews on the 13th, if that we'll be able to put forward two or three candidates for the finalist interview, and that would be with us as a committee at that point. My thought was to provide this group with the questions that the preliminary candidates will be having, so that we can kind of see what was already asked, if there's anything we want to kind of rework with that, or reuse those questions, or if we want to come up with some of our own. MASC provided a very wonderful list, and Kelly, please jump in at any point if you want to add anything, or Eve. But we do have a very good group of people. I feel it was balanced. We, at one point, were a little heavy on the women's side, so I wanted to make sure we had a balanced group, which I really feel we do, with who we currently have sitting. We did have our special ed parent, unfortunately, the one that initially was asked and invited had to step down, so there was a second special education parent who had stepped forward, and so she's been brought up to speed, and she'll be joining us at her first meeting on Friday, with the whole committee. I believe you have that list, and everybody on there is listed. We never, again, just to recap, we never got an LPAC's parent, I believe. I think we have a CPAC and 2 general parents, which is not the end of the world. We still have 3 parent voices on there, which I felt was important. But basically, that's kind of where we're at. I don't know about Eve and Kelly and Elijah, how everybody's faring through and Ashley faring through reading through their homework.
Very, very long process. I have spent the last, I think, 2.5 weeks since they started coming in, literally reading books. They are books. We have some people that, their application packet is 6 pages. We have others that are 52. So you look at all this stuff and you try to wrap your head around, like, Kathy was saying, the vision, the Mary Poppins list of a superintendent. Unfortunately, all 21 of them are identical on pieces of paper. That's the hardest part, I think, that the 13 of us have to kind of look at. And me and Dan went through it the same when, we were searching for the interim. On paper, they look amazing. But you have to be able to read between those lines and research the applicants and be able to try to make that mindful decision of this special place that we all live in. Mashpee is a different community than most of Massachusetts. The way we care about each other, the way that the community comes together, like this person that we have that we're going to bring into this position has to have that same capacity as the rest of us have, and have those same thoughts and ideas and compassion and empathy for the community that we live in. And that's very hard to see on a piece of paper. So I think one of the toughest things for us at this point is narrowing those 21 down to the 6 or 8 people to bring forward to all of us.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I think the rubric was a great tool, and I'm glad that we've implemented that. So I'm confident we're going to move forward with some great options. Again, the pool itself is a very qualified group of educators who have made their career education and have, So we're going to definitely work. I think Friday will be an interesting meeting as we get that list together, and hopefully our next meeting I'll be able to report. We'll have that recommendation by our next meeting.
I think there are definitely some incredibly promising candidates.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked through every single one so far. I have pretty much my list kind of in its way for 8 candidates. But you definitely, like Kelly said, they look amazing on paper. And then you look them up. Dan and Kelly taught me last week. You look them up on YouTube or Google, and you're like, that wasn't on paper. So
There were some rabbit holes that were, I will admit, I dove down some of those rabbit holes.
Google isn't on paper.
Basically, 1 a.m. at night.
Yeah, even just, I got an obituary. So I'm like, that's not the person I'm looking for. But yeah, there are some incredibly promising candidates. I think we're going to have a lot of discussion on Friday with people saying, I want this one. Well,
No, I've got a plan, Eve, don't worry. I've got a plan. We're gonna get through this
So,
very efficiently,
but-
don't worry.
Yeah, I think we're having several promising candidates, and I'm really excited for some of these candidates to come and interview so we can learn more about them. And people ask me, so I'll be on my computer taking notes, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm choosing your new superintendent, leave me alone. I was doing that during the basketball game the other day because I needed something to do. But so I do it at all the times of the day, and I still have to go over more stuff tomorrow. But there are so many things. Candidates will send so many letters, and immediately there are some where I'm like, I like you, you're going on mine. And there's some where I'm like, Google is not your friend. So we'll figure it out.
Yep.
But I'm really excited. Also, I have a question for the site visit. Is it possible I could set a couple free periods during the day? I could kind of tag along
For the finalist site visits? Yeah, sure, definitely, yep.
Because I think that would be really beneficial.
Well, you're part of the school committee, so yes, yes.
Out of curiosity, the site visit, does that include just an opportunity to sit nonchalant with the candidates, to have a cup of coffee and just be able to get to know folks at that level? And I know that's going to seem really maybe a strange question, but I have a follow-up comment to that.
I suppose that's up to us as a committee, is it not? I mean, we could go that route, I guess. I don't know if it's like how
And even if it's not the
common
full,
that is,
yeah,
or-
because the reason why I asked that is because recently my current organization, we went through a C-suite we're going through retirements,
Yes,
and we are, and the three candidates that came to the table all seemed very equal across the board, and then being able to have a lunch with each of those candidates very clearly drew up even some interpersonal relationship, just like interacting with our, like as a team. Like there was like certain things that do not present in interviews, do not present in some of these things where you just sit with someone and break bread and you're like, whoa, like this is not quite what we're looking for when we're looking for, compassionate and connected. And so just offering that up as a thought. Again, you folks have done yeoman's work in figuring out what this rubric looks like and how that kind of plays out. So I'll pause there for a moment, but I will just say the other thing too is I think one of the risks with especially the early time period for assessment of these candidates is a lot of bias does come into it. So are our mask friends doing any work around like with the full search committee, just like talking through like biases, right?
We had a very in-depth orientation meeting, our very
Yeah.
first meeting, where along with open meeting law and ethics and all of that fun government bureaucracy kind of talk that we all know, we did talk about, making sure our biases stay out and how to kind of be aware of them as we are working on this daunting task of picking our next district leader. I think, again, with the group that we have, when that discussion came up, I know, Eve, you weren't at that meeting, but I know Kelly, Ashley, I felt that conversation was very good, and I think there was lots of input from other members on the committee who shared their experiences when doing job searches in their professional, like outside of this committee, where that discussion was definitely had, and I think was very productive for all of us to kind of keep in mind as we are going through these. And I know personally myself, like I didn't Google anyone until after I made my preliminary list, and then I went to Google. So
You fell down the rabbit hole.
and then I fell down the rabbit hole. But that's, again, we're trying to do our best to do our due diligence.
Of course, and thank you for allowing me to ask those questions.
course.
Just thinking out loud here.
Just from my perspective, you mentioned 2 or 3 candidates. I would definitely want to see 3. I don't want to get in that either or situation. And particularly if you've got a number of talented individuals, I don't want to see it limited. I'd rather have a choice between 3 versus 2. In regard to the interview questions, part of the process is having Glenn meet with the committee as a whole in regard to interview questions.
He's been at every meeting we've had.
Right, but with the committee as a whole.
Oh, with us.
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 Got it.
Yeah, not just
Got
the search committee, but with the committee as a whole to assist with preparation of interview questions and answer questions regarding that. And we can do that either as a special meeting in January prior to the interviews, or we could do it as part of the first meeting in January to help prepare, because I know he does have a standardized
Yeah,
list.
I was gonna recommend, actually, I'll let you finish. I'm sorry.
So it's, it's really up to the committee and up to each member what questions they want to ask and what's most important to them.
Yes.
So you have something on that, Kathy?
I do. My recommendation would be that we we were given on the search committee, we were given MASC's kind of booklet of questions. It is massive. There are a lot of questions and categories that they have, like draft questions or areas that you may want to ask questions in relation to that topic. I think it would be beneficial for the committee if we had that. I'm assuming that would be what Glenn would provide us as this committee at the same, it would be the same document.
Right.
It would be my assumption. I mean, if he has something different, I'd be a little surprised, because again, this document is so in depth that I think providing it to this dais, I mean, I think Ashley should be allowed, I think you should be involved in, if you have questions that you want to ask. I feel like there should be a little bit of a wider, Eve should be able to ask questions. In the committee, obviously, we would be asking our questions, but I do feel if we take that and kind of look and see what questions from there, if there are ones already written, or if you wanted to craft, and that's kind of how we approached it with the search committee, was you could use one that was already written, or you could craft one of your own based on that list, or again, based on the data, the survey data, which was provided to the entire committee as well. So I'm happy to forward that. We have it. It would be a good starting point, in my opinion, for us to kind of go from there. And then the other thing would be to have that discussion at a later date of, do we provide our questions? And I guess my thought of providing us the questions that the search committee asked in comparison to what we might want to ask. If we want to re-ask a question that the search committee asked, it would already kind of be there, but they might have already answered it. You know what I mean? So I kind of was thinking, if you had those questions, the MASC list of questions, and then we devised our own, we're able to ask, but we would also need to determine, are we providing those questions in advance? Are we providing them the day of? Are we just going to ask without providing anything? And there was a discussion at the search level about that. So I think that would be a discussion we would have to have at this level as well.
So what did the search committee decide in regard to providing the questions?
We will be providing them the day of, as the applicants come in for their preliminary interviews. So they will know there will be questions, but they will be given them prior, like in advance, but not so in advance that they can craft an answer, like like that they're reading their answer from.
That was one of our main concerns, was if we gave them the questions too far in advance, that it would be more of like an open book test.
Right.
And not like an on the spot. And not that, I mean, they could sit out there for 30 minutes and figure out what their answers are going to be. And that's why we decided not to do it in on the spot. And I think I used Eve as an example. Eve, here's your chemistry test. Remember this word for word. This is what you're going to have on your exam tomorrow. We wouldn't do that for them. Why would you? I want somebody who can think on their feet, not for nothing.
But on the flip side,
right.
It was discussed that at a professional level,
Yes.
in some instances, you are at least given kind of an idea of what will be asked, and that's what the intention is. So the questions will be provided, just not greatly in advance.
And I think once it gets to our level, and again, this is a conversation for a later date.
Yes.
But I think that, what was really helpful and, the professional search that we were doing was to kind of provide an opportunity for the candidates to come in and present on something, right? So if the question is, like, in your transition into a new district, what do you do in the first 30, 60, 90 year, and like allow that to be the platform for this individual to kind of like showcase what they've done, what they would do, what their thought process is, and then to have follow-up questions that are not per se known to them, that kind of like accentuate that.
And that was the other thing, is that I reiterated to the search committee that there will be an opportunity for follow-up questions. You know, if Ashley asks one question and, you know, Mary Stickley has a follow-up question, she would be able to ask that follow-up question, because we don't want to stymie it, but that may, you know, the advice given to us was take more time with your preliminary interviews than less. So if
Makes sense.
at least an hour per preliminary
least,
candidate,
yeah.
at least, is what we were told to plan for. So that was definitely a discussion that was also had, was those follow-up questions or anything that might come from an answer that you might want more clarification on. So we definitely are, I think, moving in a very good direction. I feel confident that, again, with the group of people we have, the questions that have come in, because I've seen all of them, Glenn is compiling them, but I was copied on them all. I feel very confident with the list of questions we have, that we're going to be learning quite a bit about these people, which I think is great, and I'm excited for the next step. So Friday's our next meeting, and hopefully we'll have more progress then. And I would, again, recommend definitely having another meeting for us to talk about the questions. So if it's a special meeting, I guess maybe we plan it separate, but I think that would be wise to not bog down a regular meeting with us kind of having a long over questions.
My only concern is January's getting bogged down, particularly with all of
Yes.
the interview meetings, and in order to try to get the whole committee together, that will be a challenge. So
I'm open to Saturday meetings or Sunday meetings. I'm just putting that out there. So if it needs to happen, it needs to happen. I guess is how I'm at. I'm at the point of, if we got to get something done, let's do it. And it doesn't have.
We talked about that with our interviews too, about doing it on possibly, you know, on Saturdays or Sundays, because there is just so much to get through. But I think in the beginning, we had all agreed that, you know, some of these dates that we put in there were tentative dates. They're not like set in stone.
No.
So it says, you know, oh, we're going to make a decision by January 22nd. Well, if it's not possible for us to make that decision by January 22nd because we don't have all the important information that we need, then we're just going to have to push that out. And we're doing our best as a committee to get everything done as fast as we can.
Yes.
So that we can pull those people forward and put them in front of the whole committee.
And I would like to publicly thank Sherry Vinitsky for all of her work that she has done to keep our committee moving. She has been instrumental in distributing the information that we need and working with me to make sure everything is the way it needs to be. So thank you, Sherry, very much.
yes. Well, I guess we'll know more when we have that first meeting in January.
I mean, I can provide an informational email after Friday and let you know how many we settled on. We told everyone to bring their top 6 to 8. I mean, we could end up with just 6.
Well,
so,
the real unknown, regardless of whether it's 6 or 8, is the timing that you'll be able to have your preliminary interviews that week, and whether or not everyone is available, although we've told them in advance that that's when that is planned to happen.
Well, I guess my thought of the 6 to 8, that would impact that time. And because if we just do that, I'm thinking scheduling as well. So it could just be the 2 days, which would give us an extra day. I don't know. You know what I mean? We could see how it goes.
All right. So what I'm hearing is we'll kind of hold off on having Glenn come in to work with and meet with the committee in regard to next steps as a whole committee as far as question preparation. In the meantime, Kathy will share the questions that have been provided, which is basically probably what he would have provided to us, although he will also walk the committee through how those interviews and the site interviews will go in regard to that. So I do think that's important too.
Agreed.
So, all right. Very good. Thank you for the update on that. Let's see. Next, Mashpee Cares article. So I did reach out to see if we could get 3 dates when we could meet with the Mashpee Diversity and Inclusion Committee. After about a week, I got an email back indicating that they couldn't come up with a date that their committee could meet. Can we provide some dates? And so I asked Sherry to reach out to each of you. And to date, I think we've gotten a possible date at the end of January that might work for committee members, but no confirmation from everybody if that is the case. And I think January 27th was the date that was thrown out by Kathy.
Can I ask a question? Sorry
Sure.
to maybe take us a little bit off.
No.
If they can't decide when they can meet as a group, then how can we propose times to then see if they can fit that into their schedule? I'm just confused.
No,
It's the cart and the horse here.
yeah, I believe that probably what you're going to end up with is less than a full body. So they would have potentially a quorum that could meet on dates that they were unable as a whole committee to come up with the dates. But I will defer to Hope, who's part of that committee.
Sure. I'm not sure I understand, Dan, what you're asking, because what the MIDC was asked was that the school committee wanted to meet. And so MIDC said, okay, school committee, give us 3 dates and we'll let you know when we're available.
No,
Yeah.
it was the other way around.
No, that was first. I'm just talking at the last meeting that you attended. That's where we landed on, was with you telling the committee that you would get 3 dates from the school committee, and then
Why couldn't we execute the other way around? That's my question.
because it's a much bigger group with we're not asking for the meeting, you guys are, and,
No. This is, okay, I'm gonna be confrontational and I apologize. They asked for the meeting because they didn't like what we wanted to put as a placeholder on the article. They felt like we were stepping on their toes and doing something that they were already doing. So then we invited them to a meeting that unfortunately did not go very well. And we've been kicking the can down the road with them ever since. We've gone to them on numerous occasions and asked them for dates. This is, I think, the second or the third time that we have asked them to give us dates. We'll work with them whenever they can do it.
so they meet every.
But now they're
once a
saying,
month.
no, you gotta give us a date.
No, they're just saying, we have a scheduled meeting,
Yeah.
right? And I'm saying last night was my last meeting as MIDC, just take a look ahead, you're gonna be
Sure.
voting on a new member. But, we have a meeting scheduled on every second Tuesday of the month. And so in my mind, I don't know why 5 of you couldn't attend a meeting, because there's about 15 people on that committee. And they have an agenda, like, I think it's like it feels like there's just a communication breakdown. And I don't believe getting 15 people is easier than getting 5.
That's what I'm confused about, is like literally just the logistics of it. Like if there is a pre-established meeting,
Oh, yeah, there
something
is.
where we have
Yes.
talked about being able to join our groups together, like
Yes.
why are we trying to pin down all these alternative times if we're just trying to get the bodies together, correct?
No, we have not been invited to join their meeting.
Forgive me if I'm not remembering correctly, but I do remember at their first visit, they invited us to come to one of their meetings when they sat, like when Miss Stevenson and Miss Blackburn, thank you, sat. They invited us to come to one of their meetings at that time. I could be not remembering correctly, but I'm pretty positive that was offered at that point. I think the question was still about the content, which is why we were hesitant at that time to accept that, I guess. I don't know, but I recall that invitation being made.
And to track with that a little bit, because is, then I'm thinking, I think we had also discussed as a group the ability for, chair to chair to be able to talk through stuff, right? And then to be able to kind of suss out the greater scope and concept behind what each side is kind of discussing, asking, inquiring about. And that seemed to,
I think that turned
Sputter.
into more of the meeting,
and then
like
that,
it
then that
became a
went back
bigger
to
meeting
the
again.
Which so what are we asking? That's my question. What are we asking? What are we trying to accomplish here? Because I think the communication piece of things is, I think, where it seems like the hiccup is, because I'm sitting here tonight and I don't know what we're trying to accomplish. Are we trying to better understand them and what the scope is? Are we trying to figure out whether or not we push the article through with their blessing or not? What is our end game here? Because I've lost that thread over the past couple of months.
So I believe that the intent here is to figure out whether or not we need to move forward with the article. Whether or not they feel within their purview that they can accommodate the additional asks that the article is entailing. And we have not gotten feedback in regard to that.
So that is what we're asking for, is a meeting to better understand from them whether they can accommodate what's set here as our desirables.
Right. Whether our view of what needs to be going forward is within their ability to accomplish it, within their ability or desire to accomplish it.
Okay, so coming in from that framework, if we are to attend one of their scheduled Tuesday meetings, we're not there as guests. Well,
It wouldn't be a joint meeting.
it
We're
would not be
there
a
as
joint
an
meeting.
agenda.
We're there as agenda item.
Yep.
To be able to talk through this and to hear their feedback related to this.
That's what it would have to be. Now, I do know that Marie intends that their meetings last for 1 hour and tries to strictly manage that.
That's, I think.
And if
Yeah.
if we're able to do that, if we want to make a commitment to attend the next meeting in January, which I would strongly suggest, because we will run into a deadline in February of having to make a decision whether we're moving forward or not.
Okay, so are you done? Are you point in asking for us to be able to attend that next Tuesday meeting?
I can do that.
Okay, so if we could clarify and solidify that, that'd be lovely. And if that seems to be a stretch, then I think we need to reconsider our tact for this, because it just seems like a lot of unnecessary back and forth and no resolution.
I will say right now, I will not be able to attend a Tuesday meeting due to work commitments. So it would be you, Brian, and Dan, unfortunately, just because I have a work commitment.
Okay.
It's Tuesday, January 21st,
I can't do
5
Tuesday
o'clock.
meetings either.
from 5 to 6.
I have prior commitments on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
Would
and
you be able to attend that?
I can see if it fits in. I am happy to, but again, I want to be prepared to truly understand, fully understand what our ask is. I know that we've talked a little bit about it. And again, a voice that has been absent in these conversations has been Brian's.
Right.
So I want to make sure that he can hopefully attend this meeting, just because obviously his lovely recommendation of moving this forward, but this was where the traction came from.
No, I agree.
So if we could confirm that with our remaining committee member, just to see if that's an opportunity.
And if we can't do the January meeting,
The next one would be February, which is after,
February 11th.
because I believe the first Tuesday in February is the deadline for petition articles for the Maytown warrant. So,
I don't think this is gonna be resolved to do that, so, honestly. I just, there's a lot of information, I think that both people are looking to share and trying to figure out how to put it all together. I think is gonna take longer than that.
okay. And
That's all.
and if it does, then maybe it slides
To
to
October.
October, or, uh,
Maybe
If
it just
it-
results in a committee charge update and their mission update.
Mhm.
right, and then,
And then that's a moot point for town meeting.
right, that's just a meeting that then they would need to go
To the select board for
To the
approval
select
of their new
board.
charge.
to change their terms of reference.
Add one thing from
Sure.
last night's meeting, they did ask me to make sure that I'm reporting back and it's relevant right now. The committee is creating and putting out a survey for the community to get a baseline, a needs assessment of what the community wants to see this group do. Does the community know it exists? Do they participate in the things that MIDC sponsors? And then a bunch of different sort of priorities to rank in terms of like high priority, medium priority. And I'm very proud of this survey because I started, no, I'm kidding. But that draft has been shared with the committee and then will hopefully go through the town manager to be able to be put out. So the reason I bring it up right now is because it also provides a needs assessment for what you all want to do. And you will get a sense, hopefully, from the community on these issues of where they want to focus as well.
Right.
So I just wanted to share that.
No, that's important news. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions on that? All right. Page 38, there's a staffing request in your packet.
Yes, so the memo is there going through the entire rationale for why we need to add a preschool classroom. The short answer is that we have students whose needs are elevated and a student who will be moving in or aging in from early intervention. This has tipped the balance to where under regulations we need to have another classroom. We did go through the process and continue to go through the process where we look at our current resources and staffing to see if we can solve the problem internally before we ask for additional staff. We did go through that exercise. We did start this in November, looking at a possible needing to add and went through that process. Ultimately, we did come out with the fact that we need to hire a special education teacher and a paraprofessional to staff an additional substantial separate classroom. So,
When will this classroom start, next school year?
no, it will start in January.
In January.
Right. So this is timely.
So assuming that we have, do we have an identified funding source for this at this point?
We're still working on the exact one, but if we don't use school choice funds to offset that.
Okay, so the plan is to use school choice. All right.
At the end of the day, it just seems like a necessity. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's something that, I mean, for me, I vote to approve once we get there. Once we get there.
Make the motion.
Once we get there, I make a motion to approve the additional staff resources
I'll second
as
that.
presented.
Any further discussion?
When will just out of curiosity, when will the job posting go up? Tomorrow? Like, are we looking?
It has been up as an anticipated opening.
Okay. So it's already out there.
Just because
Okay.
you're looking for a special ed. I
Yes.
was hoping we would not be trying to hire a special ed teacher.
Yeah.
But if there was someone graduating, we wanted to have it out there early.
Okay.
Makes sense.
All right.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And I vote yes also. So it's approved. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, both the committee and to the community, this is not something adding positions mid-year that we look at lightly and do a big dig before we ask. So the next few things on here are mostly FYIs, but we are obviously in the process. We're going to be hiring a couple of central office people, and we have a retirement coming up for a special education teacher. We have gone through the process of updating the job descriptions. They were kind of outdated. We haven't had a change of those positions in a long period of time. So we want to be prepared for those going forward. And strangely enough, they haven't looked for a special ed inclusion teacher for like 8 or 9 years. So modernizing harmonizing and all of them, basically kind of, refreshing the wording, grouping things together in the job description so they kind of flow better, to make sure that it's up to snuff. In the case of the administrative assistant, we have someone who's going to take another position, so that position is going to be opening up with an opportunity to have that job actually reflect the work that is being done. The yellow pieces of that are the changes and additions, and that was brought to the union leadership and approved by them before we brought it to you. So that's the one, the office assistant, is the one we actually vote on.
I just got a question about that.
Mhm.
I know there's several administrative assistants at the high school. So this specific job description, who does this person support? Versus like the principal's assistant, administrative assistant versus the dean's administrative assistant versus the guidance administrative assistant. Like, are they specified to who they actually support, or do they all work together and get everything accomplished?
They all work together to get everything accomplished. There are some assistants who are more centered on particular people, like, okay.
This position is the main office administrative assistant position who greets everybody who comes through the door. The person who sits at the front.
That first desk right there, okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you. That was my only question.
Just out of a curiosity, I see a redaction here in regard to letters and reports, but we continue to include bulletins and other documents.
Bulletins would be like the bulletin boards that are in the main office area, the boards that are outside of the office area that have like the day for the students, like if it's day 2, and the period sequence
Rotation.
for the day. They maintain kind of like the bulletin boards right out. So any of that other communication would be done by an executive administrative assistant.
Okay,
So they're not
This
necessarily.
person wouldn't be handling like confidential.
so they wouldn't,
They're not necessarily creating them.
they're not creating anything? Is that? But they're creating other documents.
They're not creating them.
That's what your job description says.
Well, from a inclusive.
That's what it says.
Yeah, but from a job description perspective, in my mind, like if this is something that could become a part of their job role at some point in time, depending on their development, it's more appropriate to have it be inclusive rather than exclusive.
Right.
So I think it's general enough in my viewpoint that it could cover a variety of different tasks, but not handcuff anyone to one particular duty.
And creating a document could be the bathrooms out on the A wing, and this person is creating a document that they print up and put on the door that says bathroom out of order.
Plus, it's easier to leave things in and not necessarily require them than it is to take them out and try to put them back in. So, if the unions approve this, I'm fine with it.
All right, I just didn't understand why we.
Why letters and reports, but I think that explanation from Principal Brady makes sense, that the higher level administrator is going to be doing the letters and
Well, see,
reports.
in my opinion, a document is a letter and a report. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It can be whatever you want.
Then it's open-ended, there you go.
It's very open-ended.
The bathroom sign is gonna get written, man.
It's gonna.
No kidding.
And this is not super pertinent to the information today, but just a question. When you folks are adjusting and creating job descriptions, are you getting feedback from current individuals who are in those roles?
Definitely.
Okay. All right, so there's a standardization for that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, usually starts with just representing all different tasks you're doing. Is there anything on here that's missing? Anything on here that's you're not doing anymore? And some of those over time become automated, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Piggybacking off that really quick, and might be something for later or once everything gets settled in terms of administrative positions, but how often are the job descriptions reviewed and updated? I know that there's, I've got at least one person in mind that I know job description might need to be looked at and tweaked, but how often are those looked at by?
Yeah, I really can't comment on the past as I
Okay.
wasn't here, but there are a lot of outdated, so.
So it's something
we
that
are-
the
it is-
new
it is
administration
something
will
that we have
maybe.
noticed that needs to
Okay.
be done and are
Okay.
starting to do.
Thank you.
I think it's been done as we go, as positions. So in other words, maybe 5 years ago, when I looked at the director of school counseling's job description was completely wrong.
Yep.
I was doing half of the stuff that was on there, so we met and looked at it and then negotiated that with the union,
Right.
because that's the other piece is you need
Yes.
to negotiate that,
Okay.
not the non-union,
Yeah.
but the others. So it has been more situational. There are definitely
Understandable.
job descriptions that are like from a typewriter still in that binder.
Yeah,
Okay.
So there is some work to do.
Okay.
The
As long as
plan-
it's on the radar, that was more
Yeah, and,
curiosity.
the plan is, once we come back to look at where the retirements are and start with those, and make sure that we have those ready well before. Right. Being proactive, that's, we're doing, the special ed director, the assistant superintendent now, so that we can post after the holidays. And we actually started on both of those probably in November, so.
And the assistant's being posted as assistant, not as intern? Or is it still the
This is-
plan to be?
This is for the.
Oh, this is for,
Permanent.
okay, permanent. Okay.
Right, this is for the,
Okay, thank you.
the interim.
It's up already.
Interim has already been
Yeah.
posted.
Okay.
And we're actually interviewing tomorrow, so.
Okay.
But this is for the permanent position.
Thank you.
So we have to vote to approve the main office administrative assistant, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion to vote to approve the MMHS main office administrative assistant job description.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And I vote yes. It's approved.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least on the agenda so far is appointment of a school representative to the Mashpee Inclusion and Diversity Committee.
Why are you looking at me?
Are there any recommendations for who should?
Yeah. I think, for the time being in particular, it should be a committee member. I think there's so much challenge in the communication back and forth with the two groups. And I know you all are busy and volunteers, so you're asking my opinion, I'm giving it to you. I think one of the glitches has been things not making their way to you all in the way that maybe the MIDC thought they were before. And, again, that would be my recommendation.
I'm going to bow out of that one. I have too much on my plate at the
I
moment.
was just gonna say the same thing, Kathy, not for nothing. I will be the first one to put my foot forward when I think I can accomplish something, but I have way too much on my plate right now to commit to that.
And I'm not just saying that because I love my team so much, and no, I'm kidding. I honestly believe at this moment in time, and it could be a yearly thing like you do for all of your, you reorg in May.
Yeah.
I think this should go on that. I just,
Is it possible for us to appoint like a parent who might be interested? I understand what you're saying, but I guess my thought would be if we could find like a designee to represent us in a sense. If none of us are able to do it, I just know my commitments right now with charter review, with everything going, like I'm flat out right now. I cannot, otherwise I would. But if we had someone and then made it a standing agenda item, like the tribe's representative, because we meet literally 2 days after their meeting typically, and had that.
The glitch with that is you're supposed to have someone on there who can able to speak for the schools.
Okay.
And so that's my one concern,
Okay.
is that
That's why I
can do
asked.
that.
Yep.
You can do that.
Yep.
I always am clear, I'm like, I'm not speaking for the school committee,
Yes,
but I can
yes,
definitely speak for the
yes.
schools. You know, if you want to short-term recommend someone finish out this term, like, and then put it on the reorg for May, that's another option. In other words, if you want to short-term put a staff member or, you know, the superintendent maybe, I don't want to volunteer you for stuff, but I long-term really do think you're gonna get more out of this if one of you is
No,
representing.
you're making a valid point.
Well, but then I also think, sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts here. I think we have an immediate desire as a school committee that we're trying to suss through, that is this CARES Act, right? Outside of that, what I'm trying to imagine is the representative, like you're saying, Dr. Hanscom, is the person who's able to kind of discuss and present like what the school's commitment is to this work. And I'm almost intrigued by the opportunity of utilizing our DEIB person to be that connector point in some ways, recognizing that it's like a evolving position. It's one that is still establishing within like the, you know, the framework of our district, but that is like a direct tie in many ways to what they're trying to accomplish and what we're what we're trying to do to increase, you know, engagement in this type of work. So I'm not trying to kick the can because folks are busy. I'm just trying to say, like, are we trying to meet the immediate need of like lack of communication and problems with like the back and forth? Or are we looking for the right fit in the representation of what we're trying to accomplish? So just a consideration.
My understanding is right now our DEIB person is part-time, and I thought they're not local, correct? They're remote?
2 days a week.
So
Oh, they work remotely?
they work, right? They work remotely. So as far as I know, they don't meet remotely. They only meet it in person. So it's a great idea.
If the position grows, I highly recommend that be included as part of, because
But,
that does make the most sense. It's
Yeah,
like a
it does.
no-brainer.
I agree.
but I don't think it works.
No.
Right now.
I don't think it's short-term.
What about Consuelo? Would that short-term work, or as
I
the
just
community
don't know if
outreach
her
and
role
engagement?
is- Again, I know you're talking, Dan, short-term communication challenges, but that's what you're dealing with right now, and I think you need someone who can speak about the stuff that we're doing in a way that Consuelo cannot. It's not her job. She's not at admin meetings. She doesn't do anything related to.
Okay. No, that's fair.
When
Again,
does this decision need to be made by? Tonight?
No, it can be made at the next
Yeah, it
meeting.
could be made January 8th, because the next meeting is January 21st.
Wow.
So I would think that maybe everyone think about
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
Absolutely.
and come back.
I don't like making decisions like that at the drop of a hat. Like, it just doesn't sit easy with me.
And also, I believe getting Brian's input
Yes, agree.
is critical.
Yes.
maybe he wants to do it.
Right.
I wanna do it.
I know he's busy too, and again, I'm not trying to put more work on you guys.
No.
I'm just sitting at both tables, and I absolutely believe
We're
That-
going past each other
there's
probably.
some
Yeah.
challenges that could be mitigated.
Yeah, there are definitely, I mean, you guys have very concise and strong feelings about what you would like to accomplish. You know, what days do they meet?
Tuesdays.
The second Tuesday of the
Second
month,
Tuesday?
from 5 to 6, and it does typically end at 6-ish. It's not super duper long. Sorry, is it the 3rd?
If it's the 21st, it's the 3rd, that's what it says on the
My
website.
bad, it's the 3rd Tuesday.
So.
I showed up yesterday, I went to the right meeting.
And there were other people in
Which
the room.
Tuesday it
right?
was,
So
but
it's-
thank you, Ashley,
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. 3rd.
So why don't we do that, Don? Why don't we just
Get on the
put it on
agenda.
the agenda for next month?
Okay.
We can all think about it, you know,
Maybe
get
somebody
Brian
catch
in
that
the
with
loop.
Brian, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and see,
Yeah.
because he may say, hey, I wanna do it.
Right.
And I wanna be able to give him that opportunity to step up instead of appointing somebody else.
It's a nice group of people who are very dedicated to
I mean,
this town.
you know, just watching what I watched, I mean, it was, in order to connect,
Yeah.
having committee people talking on and being on the representative committee would be better. If need be, you know, I will go into this. So that's, you know.
Point of clarity, what have you been sharing? Like, what does your engagement in that committee look like?
I've mostly stepped into supporting their work and then answering questions about the school and that. I have only been on since August, so I've had, what is that, how many months is that?
No, and the reason I wanted to ask that very clearly
Several.
is because I think that, again, we're looking at different tiers of our engagement within the school. So if like the desire of having a committed member is to be able to say, this is the day-to-day operations,
Oh, no,
this is
no,
what
that's
it looks
not-
like,
That's
this
not
is what the school does,
No.
this is, you know what I mean?
It's, we have 2 student reps actually who provide that input. I don't, I have more been, hey, I know that the school runs the human rights, like Who We Are program, and you all are a part of that. Yeah, let's talk about ways that, more that, like, is there, it's not saying, hey, this is what we're doing at school, check please is running, or
No, yeah.
anything like that.
But I guess, and again, I'm not, I think having time, sorry, I'm like extending it here, but I feel like recognizing again, what is the desire of that particular committee too, for their representative that's coming from the school. I think we're trying to fit one of us across the district into that spot, but what do they desire?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I know they miss Mrs. DeBoer's canvas skills because they're doing a new brochure. And I did not volunteer for that because I don't have those skills. So that might be chair to chair a good question to ask, or I could ask that, Marie to give us some input just because we want to be really mindful and thoughtful about who this
Yeah.
committee. If the chair wants me to reach out to her, I'm happy to.
Sure.
Because again, it's their committee, we're trying to find someone who can support what
Yeah.
they're trying to accomplish.
That's a great call.
Which is opposed to us trying to figure out our own stuff.
So I'll send an email and I'll send it to you all as an FYI only.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And it
No.
has been a true pleasure being a part of it.
No, and I appreciate the feedback, and, you know, the committee can also obviously ponder whether or not they would want to make any amendments to the draft article that we have, because as it currently sits, it would not have a school committee representative. It would have either the superintendent or assistant superintendent. So depending upon, you know, what the desire is going forward, we might want to think about that. All right. Any further things that need to be brought forth for the committee's attention that you're aware or not aware of? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn then?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Yes. And a second by Dan.
He started first.
Dan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.